I froze mid-sip of my morning coffee, eyes fixed on a scene so bizarre it could have come straight from a bridal brochure. Sometime during the night, a white gazebo had materialized in my pasture, draped in gauzy curtains, lit up with solar fairy lights, and crowned with a crystal chandelier. Cushions in pastel shades were strewn around like confetti at a baby shower. It was absurd, artificial, and completely out of place on my quiet farmland. But the real kicker? Inside sat Lisa Bennett, HOA board member, self-declared queen of Maple Grove, and the kind of person who policed mailbox colors like national security depended on it. She lounged there with her legs crossed, sipping some fruit-infused nonsense from a wineglass and acting like this land was hers. I marched over, boots crunching dry grass, my voice sharp as a fence post. "Why is that thing on my land?" She didn't even blink, just tilted her glass, smirked, and said, "It's barely over the line, Jake. You weren't using it anyway." Right then, I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a message. A power play. And Lisa had picked the wrong farmer to mess with. Earlier that morning, things had been normal. I'd fed my chickens, laced up my boots, and was heading out to check the fence line when I saw it, the gleaming monstrosity sitting smugly on my property. At first, I thought maybe a wedding planner had gotten lost. Then I spotted the banner. Lisa's Serenity Haven in gold cursive. My stomach turned. This wasn't some innocent mistake. Lisa, notorious for her HOA tyranny, had set up a full-blown structure on my land without permission. She once fined a neighbor for planting flowers without approval. She'd tried banning wind chimes for being visually chaotic. And now she was throwing yoga parties in my pasture? I ducked under the curtains that reeked of jasmine and entitlement. There she was under a sun hat wide enough to cast shade on her delusions, flipping through a book about lunar healing or whatever nonsense she was peddling this week. "What is this doing on my property?" I asked, voice steady. Lisa smiled like I was the one being unreasonable. "I needed a peaceful place for my book club. Your field has much better energy than my yard. You should be honored." I pointed to the survey marker not 5 feet from her. The line as clear as her nerve. "That's the property line. You're on my side." She took a slow sip. "Don't be so possessive, Jake. It's just a few feet. My aunt used to own this land years ago, so really it's almost like family." I told her she had until sundown to remove the gazebo. She laughed. Not politely, mockingly. Like I was a joke. I didn't smash it. Didn't yank down the curtains or trash her pillows. That's what she expected. No, I smiled and walked away, because if Lisa wanted to encroach on my land, then she'd experience the farm version of hospitality. First thing that night, I pulled out every document I had, deed, survey, drone footage. The gazebo wasn't just a few feet over. It was 10 solid feet into my pasture. This wasn't an accident. It was an invasion. I sat down with a beer and scribbled one word on a notepad. Hogs. My father had raised pigs on that exact patch years ago. The soil was perfect. The idea even better. So I got to work. The next morning, I staked the boundary line. Big, bright markers pounded into the dirt right where the gazebo stood. Lisa spotted me and wandered over. "What's all this?" she asked, voice a mix of suspicion and forced politeness. "Just making some upgrades," I said. I ordered fencing supplies, troughs, and called my cousin Nate, contractor by trade, prankster by passion. He was thrilled. We both agreed. This gazebo had to go. Over the next few days, Lisa threw her own little parties. Picnics with HOA friends who snapped selfies like they were at a vineyard. I waved at them from my porch, smiling like the devil. Meanwhile, I filed for a livestock permit. County Clerk Tim saw the address and nearly choked laughing. "Justice?" he asked. "Something like that," I replied. Lisa still didn't see it coming. She kept adding ridiculous touches, wind chimes, paper lanterns, little flower garlands. All the while, Nate and I were digging post holes at dawn, covering them with straw. She watched us sometimes but didn't piece it together. Probably thought I was just bluffing. But this wasn't a bluff. I'd compiled a whole packet for the county, deeds, maps, drone stills. She trespassed. I wasn't just angry. I was armed with facts. Then came the letter from the HOA. They accused me of hostile landscaping and causing Lisa emotional distress with my fencing. The letter was signed by none other than Queen Lisa herself. I didn't even get mad. I drove straight to the HOA office and handed them everything: deed, permit, survey, and a handwritten note. Thanks for the gazebo donation. My pigs love it. The receptionist tried not to laugh. She's gonna lose it. I smiled. That's the idea. Lisa started to get nervous. She saw the fence posts rising. The ground cleared. She approached me again, arms crossed. What's going on? She asked. Pigs, I said. Her eyes widened. You're kidding. I shook my head. Not at all. This is a farm. You built a retreat in a pig pen. She threatened to call the sheriff. I offered to do it for her, documents in hand. She didn't respond, just paced in frustrated silence. Saturday arrived and so did the pigs. 6 of them led by Brutus, a hefty, chaotic little beast with zero respect for decorum. The moment they hit the pasture, they made themselves at home. Lisa? She fled the scene. The gazebo, her serenity haven, now echoed with grunts and the sound of mud being enthusiastically redecorated. And me? I sat on my porch with another cup of coffee, watching the pigs claim their new space. Lisa might run her little HOA kingdom, but out here, this land answers to the farm. It started on a Saturday morning. Nate and I were out in the yard prepping the corral, adjusting the gates and getting everything ready. Curious neighbors peeked over fences, whispering. Soon, the pig truck arrived and unloaded 6 squealing piglets. Brutus, the boldest of the bunch, charged ahead and claimed the territory beneath the old white gazebo like it had always been his. Mid-morning, Lisa, our ever-dramatic HOA board member, stepped out with her tea, phone pressed to her ear, and let out a shriek so loud it startled my chickens. Her precious gazebo had been transformed. Curtains chewed, pastel pillows scattered, and muddy pig prints everywhere. She came storming over, demanding I get rid of the pigs immediately. I shrugged. Why? They live here now. I've got the permits. Bring boots next time. Brutus snorted at her sandal like it offended him personally. Lisa recoiled, disgusted, and stomped off. But I knew she wouldn't give up that easily. Sure enough, by noon a formal notice from the HOA landed in my inbox, threatening legal action over nuisance livestock. I sent it straight to Sarah, my lawyer, a fierce litigator who once took down a crooked developer. She responded with a letter citing Lisa's trespassing, my valid permits, and a clear warning of legal countermeasures. The HOA fell silent after that. But it wasn't over. The next morning, 4 board members showed up flanking Lisa, clipboards in hand, scowling at the pigs from my fence line. She declared they were there to inspect for violations. I pointed to the sign I'd posted. Private land. Trespassers will meet pigs. They quoted something vague about community aesthetics. I laughed. This is my land. My rules. They called the sheriff. Deputy Dan, who I'd known since high school, showed up, listened to both sides, and then told them flatly, this is private property. He's within his rights. If you don't leave, you're trespassing. Lisa looked stunned. You're siding with him? I'm siding with the law, Dan said. They left Lisa fuming. This isn't over, she hissed. Oh, it is, I called after her. You just don't know it yet. Meanwhile, Brutus and the piglets made themselves right at home. Mud wrestling under the gazebo's now drooping chandelier became a daily event. But Lisa had one more tactic: noise. At 5 a.m., opera music started blasting from speakers she'd aimed directly at my property. It backfired. Instead of fleeing, the pigs loved it. Brutus started bobbing his head to the music. A full-on pig dance party broke out. Neighbors started filming. Before long, the video went viral. Dancing pigs in a gazebo hit over 100,000 views. Donations poured in. Kids wanted to visit. Lisa's sabotage had turned into a sensation. She confronted me, furious. You're exploiting my design. I pointed at Brutus, happily wallowing in a puddle. They don't pay rent. She had no comeback. Her power was crumbling, and the neighborhood noticed. People began to distance themselves from her. Eventually, there was a recall vote, and she was ousted from the HOA board. Meanwhile, the pigs became local celebrities. Schools scheduled field trips. A bakery made pig-themed cupcakes. Reporters showed up. I left the gazebo standing, now slightly askew and mud-stained, but added a sign. Lisa's Pig Haven St. This year, thanks to trespassing, the place became a tourist attraction. Lisa's name turned into a running joke at community events. Someone even wore a shirt to the fair showing Brutus sipping tea beneath the chandelier. And then she vanished. Rumors flew. Some said she moved to a wellness commune. Others that she was trying to rebrand as a life coach. But then the viral pig video resurfaced, and her past followed her. The final chapter came during an award ceremony hosted by an animal welfare group. Locals, the mayor, even journalists gathered as our humble pig shelter received recognition. I made a light-hearted speech, joking that Lisa's contribution had been unintended. Then out of nowhere, she showed up. Disheveled, eyes wild, she shoved through the crowd screaming, "You ruined me. My haven is a joke." I stepped forward calmly. "Lisa, you built it on my land. You tried to bully me and lost. This isn't revenge, it's consequence." She looked around, but the crowd was silent. No one came to her defense. She fled, humiliated. Her legacy undone. Since then, the shelter has grown into a nonprofit, backed by fans and funded by grants. The once grand gazebo, now a mud-splattered monument, became a symbol, not of vanity, but of resilience, justice, and the quirky joy of unexpected rebellion. I never wanted a fight. But when Lisa crossed the line, I let the pigs do the talking.